So next game is up and it is against Gunner 27. I'm white again. I love it. I like to play with white, and we'll see this Guevara variation again. And how's the chat doing? How are you guys doing? Talking about some random stuff. Okay, and I think this is like the classic stuff what you do here in this variation. Just take on c6 and then play on the... It's kind of a Nimzo, right? If I think about it. Yeah. It is a Nimzo, reverse Nimzo. Huh. Of course. Just realized that now. It's a reverse Nimzo. That's why I like this. So I kind of know the plans here. Very simple. Play on the dark squares. Maybe even go rook f3, rook h3, if I am so inclined. Here maybe I can ask some questions with queen g4, when black can take on e5 because of the double attack. Bishop f6 makes sense, and I'll further support the knight on e5. Maybe I have some ideas with knight g5. Could be. Could be. Actually, knight g5 could be a threat right now. And going after this f7 pawn. So he goes knight f8. Now even more so knight g5 comes to mind, because he can't really take on e5 anymore. Before that he could have taken on e5, maybe taken on g5, something like that. But now, ooh, that looks really dangerous, because I just have to move my knight and then I threaten checkmate on g7. So I can't take on e6, but I can take on h7. I could also take on g7. But knight takes h7, what does he do? Knight g6? f5 is also possible. I need to watch out for that. Okay, let me take here. Because of f5 I can go queen g5, and if we trade queens I'm just a pawn up, and if he moves the queen I can go knight f6. If he goes f6 I'll just take with the bishop, that should be pretty good. And if he goes knight g6 I can just go queen h5, preparing knight g5 next move. So it seems I'm just winning a pawn here. He can't take on h7 because then it's checkmate on g7. So queen g5, now his queen is hanging on e7. That means he needs to react to that. He doesn't have time to take the knight on h7. Now I've saved my knight and I'm just up a healthy pawn. And I have a beautiful bishop on a long diagonal, so I'm not giving this pawn to him. d4. I could take, I could just leave it as it is actually, rook e1. Because I don't want to help him improve his pawn structure. You see all these pawns are isolated, they're weak, so I don't want to help him fix that. And now they're just ugly pawns here, fixing even this pawn a5. And I can go rook g3, ask some questions here against this knight. Once again, maybe threatening to move the knight somewhere. So do I have any trick here? Knight h7 again. It's not that cool. Okay, let's just quickly play some moves because he loses on time anyway. Okay. All right, Gunnar, thanks for the game. Yeah, this knight c6, this whole setup, I wouldn't recommend. I think you can maybe go with a6 here to not allow bishop b5. But then it's really just like Nimzo-Indian or Queen's Indian with a tempo up for white, and I think quite fine or quite comfortable to play for white. Not necessarily better, but just more comfortable to play.